Hey everyone! In this video, we're going to be talking about writing literature reviews and explaining what they are. So a literature review discusses published information in a particular subject area and sometimes information in a particular subject area for a certain time period. Typically, a literature review is going to provide new insights, shed new light on connections, or propose new areas of research, or shed light on trends. But most importantly, our literature review will summarize the findings of primary research and, of course, give us new understandings of work in the field. So just as a refresher, literature reviews are secondary sources. These are not primary research. Primary research are done in experimental conditions. Literature reviews, though, and primary research articles are both published in peer-reviewed journals. So you can find literature reviews in a peer-reviewed scientific journal, which is a reputable source. But literature reviews are going to be looking at research that other people have done and then generating trends and conclusions based on that other research. So people writing literature reviews are not doing the research on their own. So that's why we can do literature reviews on our own in this course. So you can find literature reviews, again, in peer-reviewed journals. They're in libraries. You can look them up on Google Scholar. Again, sometimes they might be behind a paywall, so it's difficult to read the entire thing. And then, of course, there are certain databases that will be easy to use to find peer-reviewed journal articles with literature reviews. And I'll give you resources to those in our course. So remember, again, that literature reviews typically will be published in a peer-reviewed, reputable journal. But you can also check for reputability by looking at the authors of the article and making sure they're from reputable research institutions or they are appropriate to write about that particular field. So, to get started with your literature review, you want to make sure you pick your topic first and narrow the idea as much as possible to begin with. You want to do a quick survey on the current research in the topic, but don't get caught up in reading too much. That's one of the common pitfalls of writing literature reviews, is students just get lost in this black hole of research and they can't really figure out one particular trend to focus on. So look at current trends for a little bit and then think about what new research could be done, and make yourself stop after a little bit. Don't get too caught up in finding the perfect articles or understanding every single article you come across. So once you've read a little bit on your topic, you should be able to narrow down some of your ideas and choose a question that you want to focus on. Again, make sure this question is narrow, so for a particular subject area or a particular group of people, and make sure it's clear. It's usually effective to narrow research for literature reviews to a particular time constraint, so doing research that is new is particularly effective. When you are researching for writing a literature review, it's really important to keep a log of your sources. So you might want to use the table that I've provided to you for every single research piece that you find. Jot down the URL, how to access it, and of course, any other citation information that'll be valuable to you, and then write down ideas as they come to you. So you should have a working document where you can jot down ideas about connections or questions that you might have. You never know what might be useful when you end up creating the full literature review, so be sure to write down your ideas as you read. Let's take a look at a sample literature review real quickly. So, zoomed in real quick. This is the co-occurring use and misuse of cannabis and tobacco, a review. So this was published in 2012, not super recent, but it was a good example. In literature reviews, you'll typically see under methods something like selective review of published studies. So the methods will not explain an experimental treatment because this is many different things that they are looking at, not just one. So you want to make sure you peek at the methods when you're looking to read other literature reviews to make sure it is a literature review and in fact not primary research. But when you're doing your literature review, you'll probably be looking at primary research for the most part so that you can generate your trends and analyses. Literature review will start with an abstract typically. We'll talk about how we're going to format our literature reviews for our course. But again, you can look up the authors here, figure out where this was published, and then read the abstract to figure out what was going on. All right. So when you're reading for a literature review and you're reading through lots of primary literature or research papers, there's a lot of information out there. So you want to get good at reading this stuff quickly and doing quick reads. So remember, do not read it in order. Find your source, do a quick scan of the abstract, and figure out if this is valuable to you or not. If it is, continue with it, take the source, and then go through the introduction, first. You want to look at background information, why they were doing the study, and find the big research question that they were trying to analyze. Scroll all the way down to the discussion or conclusion, figure out what the findings are and why they think these findings are important. Then you want to peek at the results. What data did they collect? What statistical analyses did they do? And then you definitely want to check out a brief view of the methods and how this experiment was done. You want to keep an eye out for really small sample sizes or any other methods that may not be appropriate. So just make sure everything is all good in the methods section. So again, look up words you don't know, but don't get stuck on slow reading of primary literature. Citations will help you out later on when you go back. And if you see citations within the article that you're reading, so you're reading a primary literature piece and it's a study that you think is very helpful and they cite other studies, you can use those citations to find more topics that you think might be valuable to you for your literature review. So when you start to write your literature review, you've accumulated all of your sources and you found things that you think you want to write about. So you can start with an introduction where you'll say what your topic is, why it's important to learn about this topic, and what we need to know to understand the rest of the discussion in the topic. Now, you're going to want to summarize your research. For our course, I'm going to ask that you have at least 3 reputable primary research articles to summarize. You can have more, of course, but we're going to stick with 3 since this may be the first time some of you are writing a literature review. You're going to use headings to help your reader find information for subtopics, and all of your information should be balanced and objective. You shouldn't be offering any opinions at this point, but you should not just be writing 3 different summaries. So you want to make sure you're looking for commonalities and differences and themes, and you can organize this however you see fit, but make sure you're not just saying, in study 1, this happened. In study 2, this happened. You want to summarize this while mentioning trends. Then you're going to call out a research proposal, talk about what you wanted to find, what you think the answer might be, and why it's an important thing for you and the world to know. And finally, you will conclude. You're going to combine everything that you've learned, put a new spin on it, and think about what you can tell from all of these studies that just one alone could not tell us. Some really key words you could use here are, if you find something important, you could say pivotal, or there is an urgent need, or this connection, or crucial. And here you are offering some insight or maybe a little bit of your opinion on why you think this information altogether is good. I wanted to go right back up here to getting started and thinking about questions. Once you start to narrow down your topic, again, try to get that specific question in your head as soon as possible. So thinking about something like, how does the lack of physical intimidation affect people's inclination to cyberbully? Or how can certain macroinvertebrates be used to determine if stream restoration is successful? Or in infants, is there an association between soy milk consumption and then development of peanut allergies? So all of these would be appropriate questions for a literature review, and I just want to get you started thinking on doing yours. Thanks, guys.